Oh, all right, everyone. Hey, welcome to the Tonto's Demise Week 15 recap. The old Philip Rivers jersey working its magic this week. Sorry, Brian. Uh, you know how much I love to. I live to see you lose. That's all. That's. But anyway, we only had two matchups to talk about this week, so conveniently, one of them was, as we always do, the defending champion going first, Biscuits and Porn, who squeaked in last week at the number 6 seed, meaning he had to play the Dub C Hooligans, the number 3 seed, gifted basically this spot by them. Ed and the Miami Dolphins defense said had this opportunity to actually try to get the back-to-back championship pot handed to you on a platter by Ed. Said, here you go, buddy. You take the reins. Go for it. Try to do it. And Biscuits and Porn says, you know what, Ed? We're not even going to show up this week. Fuck it. We don't need that back-to-back pot money. Let it grow. Keep going. So, yeah. Talking to Jim a little bit earlier today and said, watching these scores from this past week, Ed is probably tearing out his hair, grinding his teeth, being like, my God. If he would have gotten in, he would have beaten Kevin, for sure, and would have ended up, he would have been the 6th seed, so he would be playing me, the Wizard of Winber, next week. Curious to see what, hopefully Ed will set a lineup every week. So I'm curious to see if Ed had made the 6th seed, how far he would have gone in the playoffs. I mean, he would have knocked out Kevin, and which means I would be playing him, and Justin would be playing Boomers. So we'll see over the next 2 weeks what happens. I'm curious to know if Ed's team how crazy would it be if Ed's team just goes off the next 2 weeks and he would have won the Tonto Bowl if he had just squeaked in with the Dolphins defense there. If this close. So I'm not sure it'll happen, but at least to me, I would find it very interesting to see. I hope it happens because it would be hilarious. Maybe not for Ed, but just for other guys watching, if he would have gone all the way, if he had just gotten in. But anyway, talking about the defending champion, Biscuits and Porn, who got his opportunity gifted to him by Ed, and Jim said, you know what, I just don't really feel like it, guys. Dub C gets the victory, 140.8 to 112.2. A lackluster performance on both sides of this matchup. Dub C, but somebody had to win. Dub C, Josh Allen, 24. AJ Brown, 10.5. Jamar Chase, 10.5. OBJ, 2.5. Derrick Henry, 5. The only things here, Gibbs goes for 28, and Njoku goes for 26.5. I don't even, what's this guy's first name? Chase Brown from the Bengals there in the flex. I was going to say Chris Brown, the rapper who likes to beat women, I think, and Chad Brown, the linebacker from these old Steelers back in the 90s. But no, it's Chase Brown. Koo goes for 1 point. And the Baltimore Ravens defense. Yahoo says 13. Looks like your bump was 12 to 25. So Dub C gets 25 from his quarterback, 25 from his defense, 25 from Gibbs, and 25 from Njoku, and a couple 10 spots here. Enough to get past Biscuits and Porn, who makes all the wrong decisions with his buns this week. Plays Sam Howell, who scores 19.3. Doing exactly, he lost to Kevin, doing exactly what Kevin did a couple weeks ago, giving up on Browning from the Bengals. At least he didn't get rid of him. Moral of the story, Jim, if you had started Browning, you would win this matchup because he scored 53.2, which is 33, it'd be like 32.9 more points than Howell. You add those 32 points to your total, that gives you 144, and that means you win this matchup. But you didn't do it, even despite the Chargers defense giving up 63 points and scoring 1. You would have won this matchup. Amon-Ra goes for 24. Devontae Smith, 10. Justin Jefferson, 15.5. Eckler, 8. Montgomery, 10. Kittle, 7.5. Javonte Williams, 4. Sanders, your kicker from Miami, goes for about 11 point something. And again, the Chargers defense, 1 point, as we all know, in that Thursday night debacle. Didn't you have somebody else there? You had Eckler. And did Kevin have somebody in that game? I guess not. Oh, he was going to have Keenan, but Keenan was out with an injury. Let's see if it looks like Keenan is going to play this week. Still not practicing, so we'll see what happens there. But anyway, this matchup, Dub C Hooligans gets the victory. He will move on to play Darkwing Jet next week. Meanwhile, Biscuits and Porn, thank you for your service, and we'll see you again next year. Thank you for not taking the back-to-back pot. It's going to build for at least 2 more years. We'll see another year at least. We'll see what happens. But anyway, so yeah. Other matchup was Hillbillies on PCP versus Zach Boomers. And Boomers drops the dynamite on Hillbillies on PCP. Gets the victory 163.4 to Hillbillies 131.85. Again, Ed probably watching these matchups and these scores like, why, I should have been in there. But anyway, Boomers, after starting 0-3, I think he said on the lineup 2-5, something like that. Let's take a quick peek here, since we got plenty of time, because this is the only other matchup. Yeah, he started 2-5, and then he won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of his last 7. All right, so let's go back to the matchup here. So, and as we may recall, Hillbillies on PCP. Let's take a quick peek at your schedule here. What did you do? I know you had a winning streak here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You had a 6-game winning streak this year. You lost week 1, and then you went on a. And you were undefeated for 6 weeks. You were 6-1 after week 7. And it was all downhill from there. You were desperate in week 13 to get that victory over Yinzer Jags, and you were able to get it, which clinched you the playoff spot. However, your team crashed in week 14, scoring less than 90 points. Sometimes quarterbacks score more than your entire team. And unfortunately, so that the tailspin only occurred for Brian, not Kevin, although arguably it probably should have happened for Kevin as well. But yeah. Hillbillies on PCP, toyed with this year by the fantasy gods with that 6-game win streak. Perhaps said, did it have something to do with the Phillip Rivers jersey? Doesn't. You know what? I'm not going to finish that sentence for 2 more weeks, at least 1 more week. But anyway, so what happened here? Boomers, a lackluster quarterback performance in this matchup. Dak goes for 27.5, while Lamar Jackson went for 33. Your receivers, Thielen, Sutton, Adams. Thielen, 8.5, Sutton, 12. Devontae, 24. One of your bright spots here. Mixon goes for 15. Aaron Jones comes back, gets 11. McBride, another bright spot on your team, probably a keeper for you next year. 20 points from him. 10 catches for 102 yards. Singletary in the flex, 24. Good score from him. Butker goes for about 9 point something. And the Vikings defense that you just can't seem to quit. They go for, Yahoo says, 11. That must have been correct, because you wouldn't have gained anything. Because it looks like Butker had a couple field goals. His field goals must have boosted you up 1.3 there. So yeah, 11 must have been the score. For your defense, said really not a lot of good scores here. Devontae, McBride, and Singletary putting you on their backs and carrying you across here this week. Sorry for an itchy back. Anyway, and then for Hillbillies, what do we got? So Lamar went 2 months ago, 21.1. ETN 10. Zamir White, is that his name? Yeah, plug and play him because Jacobs was out. Kind of surprised that Jim didn't do that, but 17.5 for him. Kelsey 8. Taysom Hill 1.5. Prayers unanswered on that one this week. Bass, your kicker, goes for 6 point something, and your favorite defense, the Falcons defense, actually loses this matchup, loses to Carolina. Yahoo says 9. Looks like you got a 6 point bump to 15. You still lost by 32 points here. So I don't think your other defenses would have helped you. So you got 15. Cleveland here says 18. But I think they did give up a lot of yards and stuff there. So yeah, nothing that would have changed the outcome here. For Hillbillies, Stroud and Nico going down probably hurts you a lot. Pittman getting hurt. ETN didn't do too much. So Taysom Hill didn't do anything for you. Yeah, your defense really didn't do much. And that was basically the end of your season. Boomers with the victory. he will move on and play the Wizard of Winber in the Tonto's Demise semifinals, while Hillbillies on PCP. Thank you, and we will see you again this time next year. Good luck in the 5th place game or whatever it is if Yahoo puts you in, if you actually really care. So anyway, so here going into week 16, we've got the Wizard of Winber versus Boomers and Darkwing Jut versus Dub C Hooligans. There will be no Cinderella stories this year. The teams 5 and 6 seeds go out. It's now 1, 2, 3, and 4. We will see what happens. I think we were talking about it a little bit there recently with like the seedings and who makes the Tonto Bowl. And it was interesting how for years and years we had no Tonto Bowls. Like only one Tonto Bowl was the 1 versus 2 seed. And I think that was 2011, I believe, when it was me versus Jay, I want to say. And then we went 10 plus years without having a Tonto Bowl that was 1 versus 2. Until last year. Detling versus Jim, that was 1 versus 2. Will we have another 1 versus 2? Will we have, after going 10 plus years without it, we might have a 2 in a row, 1 versus 2. Just looking at who's left from my point of view, I think at least I should easily take care of Boomers this week. We'll see, of course. Sorry, I feel like I got beard hair in my mouth or something. And the only, really, Dub C, I'm not really, I'm just going to be honest here, I'm not really worried about your team. It's Justin's team. If I get to the next week, that's the team that I'm worried about. And he is favored to beat you. So let's just take a quick peek at the matchups here in the semifinals. I got Goff, Diggs, Puka, DK. I mean, my lineup is pretty much set. Don't really plan on changing anything. Unless something happens. So basically this weekend, next week, my roster is what it is. So I'm currently a 21-point favorite on Yahoo, but I mean, that's whatever it says here. We got Diggs, we got Puka, we got DK, we got Tony Pollard, Rashad White, the unsung hero of my team this year, Evan Ingram, also filling in admirably for the fallen Mark Andrews. We got CMC, we got McManus, we got San Fran defense at home against Baltimore. Then for Boomers, so I don't know if Zach watches this or not, or care, because I don't link to it on the lineup or anything, if he even knows that this exists, but I am really, I mean, hey, I'm all for it. You've taken Dak out and put in Jordan Love at Carolina. When Dak is playing, I understand. I mean, Dak's playing at Miami. You know what? Good. This is good for you. I mean, I've critiqued Boomers, a lot of Boomers moves all year long, and look where he is right now. He's still alive, and 8 other people are already done, and here I have to face him now in week 15. Yeah, no, 16. Anyway, this is normally the Tonto Bowl week, but it is not anymore. Still weird to me. Still adjusting to that. It's probably going to take 10 years. Anyway, he's got Thielen, Sutton, Devontae, Mixon and Aaron Jones right now. McBride, Singletary, Butker, and he's got the Vikings defense in there. Basically, I've got Goff for my quarterback versus his defense. Goff at Minnesota. So that could be a big factor here. But currently, you've got Love, Thielen, Aaron Jones, a bunch of. You got You put Hubba Bubba on the bench. Maybe, I don't know if you would put him in. I don't know where you would put him in. Singletary is playing Cleveland. I like that for me. But yeah, so this reliance on people playing in the Green Bay Carolina game, I believe that's pretty good for me. Not gonna lie. Mixon versus at Pittsburgh. Usually Bengals usually struggle at Pittsburgh. Sutton against the New England's defense is still good. Their defense is not bad. I really just don't like a lot of your matchups. And I'm not going to say anything about your decisions. You do you there, Zach. But overall, I do think I've got a pretty significant advantage on paper here and feel like I should get the victory and go on to the Tonto Bowl, but we will see what happens. I wanted to say, too, I was thinking about this earlier, that being the Wizard of Winburn and talking about people making it to the Tonto Bowl, and Detling being the LeBron James of the league, and I am more than happy to be the Michael Jordan of the league. I will take that anytime ahead of LeBron, seeing as the Springfield Isotopes, whenever they existed, they were 6-0, never lost a Tonto Bowl it never lost the finals, much like Michael Jordan. And when you think about it, when Michael Jordan retired, just like the Isotopes, and left and then came back, who did Michael Jordan play for? Oh yeah, it was the Wizards! So it all makes sense now, doesn't it? Anyway, Darkwing versus Dub C. Yahoo says Justin's going to win by 6, 5.5, 6 points. Let's take a look. All right, Justin's got Stafford on Thursday night with Kyron Williams in the flex, hoping that Stafford dumps a lot of passes off to Kyron, and maybe he takes one or two into the end zone. Lamb against Miami, like that. You've got Zay Jones in, though. We'll see if Tyreek can come back from his injury. Why do you have Zay Jones in there? I think he has he did play last week, I think. He suffered he has a hamstring injury. So I'm going to guess Zay Jones is not going to stay in there. You got Dotson versus the Jets, which I don't like. That's pretty much Justin's only other receiving option. He might have to be picking somebody up off the waiver wire here this week. If Zay Jones doesn't play, you're going to have to put in Dotson. So again, at the Jets, don't like that for you. Hopefully, for your sake, Tyreek is back this week from his ankle injury and can play against Dallas there. That's going to be a huge game. Lamb and Tyreek in the same game. James Cook, who went off last week, we'll see what happens this week. I doubt the Chargers are going to put up much of a fight against against Buffalo. So it could be a lot of running in this game for Buffalo and Cook. Connor You got Waller back in against the Eagles. I mean, Waller has been. I've kind of forgot that Waller was even a thing. He's been on IR with his hamstring injury. We'll see. You put Likely back to the bench. Do you have any other? You got Schultz against Cleveland. Did he do anything last week? I know he's been out. Yeah, he actually did play last week, but didn't do too much with Stroud being out. So Waller comes back, and you're throwing him right back in the lineup. So you got Kyren in the flex, hoping for Stafford to dump off a lot of passes to him this week. Elliott, your kicker, and then the Dallas defense. That's Justin's only defense. They are at Miami. We'll see what happens there. That could be significant in this matchup here. Then for Dub C, he's got Josh Allen at the Chargers. Like I said, Justin has Cook. This game probably, at least based on last week, not going to be very competitive. On the Chargers side, Buffalo going to be playing like they're going to be playing desperate because they need to get wins here and try to get into the playoffs. So they're probably going to be way more motivated to win this game than the Chargers. So this game could be pretty lopsided with a lot of garbage time in the second half, which means Cook could be getting a lot of carries to keep the clock running. A.J. Brown versus the Giants. Beckham at San Francisco. Don't really like that. Looks like Stevenson is questionable. Jamar Chase, questionable. We'll see what happens. I mean, with Stevenson, he might come back. They're playing at Denver. Yahoo is projecting him for 12. So I don't know if he's looking on, and they're projecting Chase for 0. So they must be on opposite ends of the questionable status there. So Keenan Allen playing Buffalo. He hasn't practiced yet, but it's still early in the week. Derrick Henry, Gibbs, and Njoku has been on fire with Flacco at quarterback. You got Gus Edwards at 2. You're starting 2 Ravens at San Francisco. And 3 Ravens. You're starting Baltimore's defense at San Francisco. Don't really like those things for you. Koo should be okay. But yeah. Don't like that you're starting 3 Ravens at San Francisco. Not sure Josh Allen's going to have to do a lot this week. Keenan, questionable. Said Stevenson, Chase, questionable. Would not be expecting those guys. I just don't think that. Just looking at the lineups, just Dub C, I just don't think you have the firepower to keep up with Darkwing Jut this week. That's good. I mean, Thursday night, Stafford and Kyren. If that goes well for Justin, that's probably going to be the matchup. If it does not go well for Justin, then this one is definitely going to be up in the air. So he's got Tyreek going against his own defense. I don't know if there's anybody on the waiver wire that Justin would consider picking up and playing against Miami. So yeah, he's kind of in a tough spot here. Zay Jones said if Zay doesn't play, you're going to have Dotson. Your third receiver, we're going to assume Tyreek is going to be healthy and playing. You're very questionable at your third receiver spot. I just don't like Waller. Don't trust Waller, I would say, at least. Cook and Connor should be okay. CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill could carry you all by themselves. But yeah, I think Justin's going to win this matchup, and I think we're going to have a 1 versus 2 Tonto Bowl, a ex-Kitchen of Love grudge match in Tonto Bowl 21. The Wizard of Winber, in his very first year, new guy in the league, is going to take it all the way. at least to the championship game, and we'll see what happens if perhaps precedent will be broken. The the Isotopes retired undefeated in Tonto Bowls. Will the Wizard of Windber be able to keep that tradition alive, or will, if he makes it, will he fall flat against the Darkwing Jut? If Darkwing Jut is the one who makes it, which I think is what's going to happen. Also, if that happens, it would be Jared Goff versus the Dallas defense. So 2 weeks in a row, my quarterback will be playing my opponent's defense if Justin and I get to the Tonto Bowl. So those are interesting matchups that I would really like to see. But anyway, yeah. Whew, that's what we got for week 16 over Christmas. Here we got the Wizard versus Boomers and Darkwing Jut versus Dub C Hooligans for the rights to play in Tonto Bowl 21. Alright guys, thanks for listening, watching, or whatever it is you do. Assuming most of you don't really care at this point, we'll see what happens. May all 4 teams, players meet or exceed expectations. No injuries. Everyone has a good time. A Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays, whatever it is you do. Kevin, your dog took a shit right on your hat, your ugly hat there that you're wearing. If you could clean that up, please. I can smell it from over here. Is there anything else? I think that's it. Well, we'll see the podcast this week, see what they have to say, what predictions they have to make, and we'll see if the wow is a real wow or is the sham wow that Detling believes it to be. Because, as we know, 1 versus 2, more often, like 90% of the time, one of those 1 and 2 seeds, somebody who's going to get the Romo jersey, basically. More often, 90% of the time, either the 1 or 2 seed gets the bye and then goes out. So, I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think these best teams are, at least on paper, are in the seedings. The seedings kind of speak for themselves this year, although we'll see what happens if Ed would have gotten in. But yeah, at least in projections and points and on paper, the best teams are still playing. And there said no upsets really yet, at least so far. So, alright guys. I said goodbye like 2 minutes ago. Thanks for listening, watching, or whatever it is you do, and I will be excited to see what happens on Christmas, after Christmas, and see next week. We will only have 1 matchup to talk about. We'll have 2 matchups to review, but only 1 to talk about looking forward for the podcast and for me. Tonto Bowl 21. Gonna be a good weekend. Excited to see what happens. Crossing my fingers. Yeah. Alright guys, thanks again. And we will see you back here next week. Again, everyone have a great Christmas. All you guys and your kids and presents and all this stuff. Like I don't even have a Christmas tree. I don't need a Christmas tree because it's just this guy watching TV. Gonna watch football all day long, hopefully. But anyway, and hopefully the plan is to spend Monday. Christmas is Monday, yeah. Spending as much time on Monday as possible in the Crick's hot tub. So yeah, that's my plan right now. All right, guys. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a good week, good matchups, and we will see what happens. We'll be back here to talk about the events of Week 16 and who is going to be playing in Tonto Bowl 21. All right, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.